effective on a virtual platform is really no different than being effective in a classroom. Too often, instructors lose the fact that all teaching, whether it's at elementary school or even in college, needs to be entertaining. So our most effective teachers are the ones that keep the topic lively, but with the virtual platform sometimes being exclusive to skills training, our teachers, at least the best of them, have incorporated games and quizzes, sometimes these little competitions where we'll give away small gift cards. It seems to get the students pretty excited and engaged, and they're at least much more interactive than if we didn't use those strategies.
So the first thing, knowing that we were going to be online, was we just told the students that as a class, we're going to establish what the rules are for when we're virtual. So we actually had the students talk it out, and they established the rules for their class. For example, we all decided that when we're virtual, that it's just like you're sitting in a classroom at school. You needed to be sitting in some type of chair, not lounging in your bed or on the floor, on the couch. Like, find somewhere that is your school chair. The other thing that the class decided is that everyone needed to be dressed as if they were going to school. So in our class, sometimes we wear scrubs and sometimes they can just wear the normal, school clothes. But we had designated days where it was a scrub day. Normally in our class, on a normal year, they wear their scrubs every day to our class. So we didn't feel the need to do that online. So we had them designate days that they wanted to wear their scrubs. And we had our scrub checks and did all that just like we normally would. We said also that you shouldn't be eating your breakfast in front of your classmates because we had a very strict rule, and we still do. Your cameras must be turned on for our class. The reason why is when we go out to sites, you're going to be talking and interacting with staff members, with patients, with family members of those patients. And if you can't have your camera on in a virtual class, how can you be ready and prepared to face someone in real life? So we felt like that was an important rule to establish too. Some other things that we did. So we discovered that there was a app called Padlet. Again, we were introduced to a lot of different types of technology out there. So with Padlet, it's like putting a sticky note up online that every student can access, and you can make it anonymous. And so we would do check-ins with them, like I am feeling, and let them fill in the blank. The best thing that happened to me yesterday during virtual school, something that happened in my life outside of virtual school, or I'm tired of. And we did these weekly, sometimes more if we were gauging that the class was feeling down or just felt like they were disconnected. And it was great because we would post that anonymously. It was live, and some kids got so much stuff out of that, just realizing, hey, I'm not the only one that's feeling this way. There's other people that are feeling this way, or this is awesome. Like, especially the positivity ones was very good for students to read and be uplifted that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that we're all going through this together, and we're going to all make it together as well.
One of the things I like to do in class is we have an hour-and-a-half class period. And so whether the student is a remote learner or in person, I like to take that hour-and-a-half and break it into 3 sections each day. So we try to work on maybe a module or something, a topic, maybe pharmacy law for 30 minutes. Then we switch gears and maybe we'll work on math for 30 minutes, maybe conversions or whatever topic we're covering that day. And then the last 30 minutes, we might work on drugs. So, I like to cover the drugs in groupings. So heart drugs together, gastric drugs together, and we work our way slowly through the top 200 over the course of the year. If the student is remote learning, then I would give them an assignment to work on these portions of a module, which would take about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit of a math module, 30-minute assignment, and then finish up by making some flashcards maybe for heart drugs or whatever topic that we're on that particular time.
We have implemented things like Ed Puzzles, Kahoots, learning systems that are very interactive, Peer Deck, where the students can go in and it's kind of like a game. So any type of activity that's like a game-based competition, they win awards, things that are challenging. That's what my instructors are doing now. It's absolutely exhausting, but it's also creative. Using their cellular devices, their mobile devices helps. Doing Quizlet, doing things that they can be competitive against each other and win badges. So some of the systems that we have implemented have those types of modalities built in.
One way to keep students engaged is to bring the pharmacy into your classroom. For example, when I first started teaching, I went to a local mom and pop pharmacy. And I just bought a big basket from Big Lots, just a laundry basket. And I printed the top 200, the list of the top 200, and attached it to a clipboard and with a highlighter. And they would save, as they emptied, the bottles in the pharmacy, they would throw whatever drug they had that day, and they would cross it off the list. So eventually, I had each bottle from the top 200. So, and then you can fill them with placebos from Demi-Dose. So gel caps, tablets, caplets, all of those different types of dosage forms. And so the students can practice counting. You can also do some games with those bottles. For example, I have them sorted right now by body system. So all the heart drugs are together. And all the gastric drugs are together. But eventually I want to put them into alphabetical order by the end of the year. And so just having something visual where the C2s are in the C2 cabinet, it helps the students, I think, be more successful on the state board.
On Fridays, I would do Disco Fridays. So I would pick some stupid, funky, teenage song, and I would say everyone up, and we would all just dance and be crazy for about 2 minutes, just playing some song, and it always got everyone laughing and giggling and just, kind of out of our comfort zone. Some of us danced in our chairs, like especially if we had really cool office chairs they could turn and stuff like that. So Disco Fridays was really important to us as well. Also, another one of our rules, and this is the same rule we have if we're in the classroom, they can't have their cell phones on them. They actually place them on a table in our classroom. And so one of our rules is at the beginning, hold up your phones. Everyone have to hold up their phone in front of their camera and toss it behind you. That way that we know they're not distracted, at least by their phone, and that we just ask that be respectful of their instructors and of their other classmates, that we all want to make this the most positive that we can, given that it was a new environment.
Along the way, it's just giving grace. It's allowing people to have a bad day and not be able to participate and giving it an okay. So a lot of patience and grace has been given over the last year through this COVID experience. So it's been fun and interesting, but exhausting. And I think our students, the ones of which are dedicated and have wanted the golden egg at the end, which is their certification, have kept up with the rigorous curriculum. And our hope is that when we get back into the real world of education and in our classrooms and skills labs, that we can still use some of these modalities that we have implemented, but yet we go back to some more that is traditional and help the students gain more skills and confidence to go out into the workforce.
Being a teacher, which I absolutely love to do, love every day coming to my job. It doesn't feel like a job, but this year definitely has been a challenge. And I've been challenged in so many different ways. Challenged in how am I going to get to know my students that are staring at me through a camera? How am I going to deal with technology on a daily basis, of technology that I haven't necessarily used? The first month of school, the first month before school started, when we went from doing nothing for 4 to 5 months and just all of us dealing with no goodbyes to our seniors from the previous year, no closures of any of our programs. We normally have our students who just got their certified nurse aide and their pharmacy tech, and we have like a little program for that. We give them pins and certificates. None of that happened. And so not only were teachers still dealing with no closure from the previous year, but now we've been hanging out, we've been thinking about what's coming and what's this going to look like. And then it hit us all, hey, this is how school is going to work this year. And you're going to need to get on board real fast. And I would say that probably most teachers at the beginning of school felt like, I can't do this the whole school year. This is never going to work. Feeling depressed, feeling vulnerable because we're learning new technology, and feeling like, am I going to look competent in front of my own class?
One of the pitfalls with having my schools, 12 of them stretched all across the state of Ohio, and the restrictions with the pandemic, has been my ability to travel and interact and engage with all of these different teachers. We've also not been able to come together as a group in person. In order to counteract that, we have large Google Meets where all the healthcare instructors get together along with myself. Most of the time, it's just information sharing, but I will be honest, during the pandemic, there is a lot of just social aspects to that where they can relate to each other. They can talk about the highs and the lows that they're experiencing. They can be a support for each other. That seems to be pretty effective. We don't overdo it, but just every once in a while touching base. The other thing from an administrator's point of view, just reaching out to people individually and asking not only how is their production, but how are they doing? From my point of view, you have to know their spouse's name or their children's name or their dog's name, and start with that first. That lets them know that you actually care about them as an individual and allows them to alleviate some of that personal stress. And then it's a lot easier to focus on the topic at hand.
The beginning of the year, I had decided that our one word this year was going to be resilience, which many people have picked up on that word. And resilience has turned into grace in our program. And I spend many hours working with my staff, trying to keep them abreast of their students, their curriculum, their feelings, letting them know we care. We have weekly Q&As with our administration. We have weekly educational enhancement sessions for our educators. We're doing a lot to try to keep them motivated. We're in our second round of self-awareness and health. So we actually have competitions. How are you taking care of yourself? Are you exercising? Sending someone a greeting to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. All those things are so important for one's well-being.
Every day I find something positive about the day, even if it's been my worst day. And if it's been my best day, I celebrate that. And I definitely look forward to next year. And I hope that we have some type of normalcy. Of course, it's a new normal for all of us, but finding those little things next year about what did I learn about this year? I learned a lot that I can do technology. I can learn that. And I can integrate it into my classroom, not just sitting in class, but virtually, and realizing and appreciating that I really do. I knew this before, but I know this even more now. I really love having the students in my classroom every day. I think for the most part, students have realized how much they miss socializing and just the normal, pure type stuff that you go through as a teenager. I think that's invaluable for students. So teachers leaning on other teachers, students being a part of that, really showing that they do support teachers and everything that we're trying to do creatively for them to be engaged this year.
What has kept me sane is that when I am going around checking on rotation students and seeing former grads working, and many of them because now they're in college and they're able to take online classes. So now they're working 40 plus hours a week in the pharmacy and making a very nice living. And that is what keeps me going. So I want this group of students, as many as possible, to pass the state board so that they can do the same thing beginning in the summer. So many of my students are, actually 2 of my students landed jobs even as pharmacy tech trainees. And I have 3 or 4 that are interviewing over the next few weeks. So each year the number grows. So I think last year I had 6 students that worked during the pandemic as tech trainees. And so when we got out of school for spring break and then we never returned, many of them picked up 40 to 50 hours a week in the pharmacy. And then they would just work with me in the evening on Zoom to prepare for the state board.